Hello students, welcome to Biosastra Talks. So now we are going on with the NEET 2023 paper revision, and in that we are discussing about the botany paper here. So let's get into the questions from the botany paper given in the 2023 paper. So what was the question given in the NEET 2023 paper was which hormones promote internode or petiole elongation in the deep water ice? This is one of the question which was asked in that paper. So here they are asking about which hormones are responsible for this elongation process. They have given the four options. What were they? Gibberellic acid, kinetin, ethylene, and 2,4-D. So now we have to know which hormone is responsible. So let's get into the topic. So normally we know that the hormones or the molecules which were responsible for the growth of plants in various ways, like in the ripening of fruits or the stem elongation, like that. So we along with that we know that the plants which can grow on the land can grow easily when compared to the deep water environments. Why? Because the plants which were growing on the land can have certain amount of sunlight, nutrients, etc. But the deep water environments, they are not that much good for the plants to survive. So for that, the deep water plants have to adjust with the environment, or they have to obtain certain different types of characters or like that. So for that, these hormones, some of the hormones are helping these deep water varieties to survive under submerged conditions. So what were the what these hormones will help us normally, how the way they are helping the deep water varieties are for it to know that the Bangladesh scientists, they have researched on some deep water rice variety of Oryza sativa to know how they were adapting to the submerged conditions. So when they have like uh, when they have seen these rice variety and when they have done some tests in the lab, so what they have known was they are surviving in submerged conditions with the help of certain types of hormones. Okay, so these hormones are what they are doing was they were giving deep water rice a unique adaptation, so that by elongating the internodes or petioles to keep the leaves above the water. So like that these hormones are responsible. So normally we are discussing hormones. So now we have to know which hormones are responsible for this deep water rice variety to survive. So what were the main hormones that were helpful for the deep water rice variety in its internode elongation were gibberellins, ethylene, brassinosteroids, and abscisic acid. So these are the four hormones responsible for the internode elongation. But in these four, the gibberellins play a main role in promoting cell elongation and growth, so that the internode can elong. Okay, so normally these are the main hormones, and these three are like helpers. Okay, if we see how the gibberellins will play a major role was, we know that the gibberellins, they are also known as the growth promoters, the growth promoting hormones. What they'll do here, if you see the picture here they are given the three plants, like three plants of rice variety. Here if you see the first one and the third one, you they are not grown that much. Why? Because of lack of gibberellin here. Okay, these are grown up to certain amount, but the second plant has grown very fast and rapid by showing some internode elongations here. You can see the internode elongations and some petiole elongations also. So how it was all happened was because in these three plants, the second plant is having certain amount of gibberellic acid in it. Okay, so here you can see they have shown so much amount of gibberellic acid when compared to this one and this one. That's why this second variety or this second plant is showing more rapid growth outside the water. So when the plant or the variety can grow outside the water, what will happen? Obviously, so outside the water means it can get certain amount of sunlight, so that it can process through the fertilizer, sorry, photosynthesis. It can show the process like photosynthesis to produce certain amount of nutrients. So here they have given the picture like this. The gibberellins, normally they'll say GA4, but the all types of gibberellins will help in the elongation process. They'll play a major role in the internode elongation. Like how? I explained, like when they are submerged, the GA production increases normally. When the rice variety is submerged in the water, when compared to the normal plants, this GA production is increased. With the help of what? Normally, there are certain types of genes which were responsible for this GA production, gibberellic acid production in the submerged plants. What were those genes? Were SK1 and SK2 are the genes which were responsible for the production of gibberellic acids in the submerged variety. Like this, with the help of these genes, the GA helps in the internode elongation so that the deep water rice variety can survive under the submerged conditions also. So now, by this we can say that gibberellins are the main hormones. So here we have known the answer. The gibberellins is the answer. Like gibberellins is the right one. But if we see how we cannot say that only gibberellins without any help they are doing all this. But along with the gibberellins means the gibberellic acid also getting some help with other hormones so that it can function properly. So what were those other hormones were like next one is ethylene. The main one is ethylene. Ethylene normally we know this is a like gaseous hormone which is present in all plants. What it will do normally, what is the main function of ethylene? It will help in the ripening of fruits and the production, ripening of the fruits or flowers something. So it is its main function in the normal way in the normal plants. So here what it will do is this ethylene is a gaseous hormone. We know that normally we know that the ethylene exists in the form of gas so that when the ethylene is present in the submerged plants, it is the gaseous form means when it is in the form of a gas, it is trapped inside the plant tissues means the gas cannot what they'll say, it cannot go out easily into the water, so that it is trapped into the plant tissues. Like that the ethylene is trapped inside the plant tissues here if we see normally. So when it is trapped here in the plant, what it will do normally, if we were closed, like if we're like uh, we are what they'll say, we are in certain room, but when the door was blocked, what we have to do, we cannot sit quietly, right? So we'll do something like that only. When this ethylene is triggered or like it is trapped inside the plant tissues, it will not sit calmly. What it will do means it will try to help the other hormones, like this accumulation of ethylene will trigger the production of GA. Means trigger means what it will do, what is the main role means normally what it will do means there are certain other types of genes also, they are known as semi-dwarf genes, SD genes, they are known as SD genes. Normally these semi-dwarf genes which were present in the submerged varieties, they does not allow the plant to grow rapidly. So when this ethylene is present inside the plant tissues, what it will do means it will oppose the production of semi-dwarf genes. Okay, so when it opposes the semi-dwarf genes, automatically the GA can produce rapidly. Why? Because when anyone are going very fastly, if no one is there to oppose them, so that they can run fast. Like that only, if the gibberellic acid is producing very fast means the SD genes or the like they are like inhibitors for the gibberellic acid production. So when those were prevented or when the production of those semi-dwarf genes is like reduced by the ethylene, automatically the production of gibberellic acid is more, so that they'll help the SK1 and SK genes, like that they'll show the internode elongation. So mainly here you can see that ethylene is also another hormone which helps the deep water rice variety or which will help the gibberellic acid to show the internode elongation. Okay, so there are also other hormones. What were they? Brassinosteroids and abscisic acid. These are also two hormones which will also help the Gibberellins to show the internode elongation. So what were their functions was BRs like steroids normally what they'll say was like they work together with the GA means like these BRs and the gibberellic acid are like colleagues which who will work together, like that it works together with the gibberellic acid to promote elongation means it will help the gibberellic acid as a friend and as a colleague. Okay, they like what the colleagues will do, they both discuss and then they'll do the work, right? Like that only these BRs and gibberellic acids, BR helps the gibberellic acid to promote elongation. Okay, means what is the role means these BRs will enhance the deep water rice, means they'll help the rice water plants to become more responsive to GA, means like they'll help the GS, okay? Like that only, means they'll help the rice plants to become more responsive to GA, more exposed to gibberellic acid so that it can show its function. Like that, the brassinosteroids will help the gibberellic acid, and another one was last one, abscisic acid. So normally, if we can see, ethylene and BRs are like friends, but abscisic acid, what is the role of this abscisic acid? Means normally it is known as growth inhibitor here. Normally means this abscisic acid does not allow the plants to grow rapidly. So what will happen means the abscisic acid role, how it will help means you can say that it is like a enemy or like relatively friend. How? Because when the amount of abscisic acid is reduced, automatically the GA production is increased. Okay, like that, the abscisic acid is also responsible for this internode elongation. Means the less amount of the abscisic acid means more amount of gibberellins. So that the internode elongation is also more like this. These are also responsible in not a direct way, but they are not friends, but somehow they are responsible for this internode elongations. Okay, so how means in the normally in the submerged conditions, the ABA levels when we compare the plants like which were growing on the land and which were growing in the deep water, normally in the normal plants the abscisic acid amount is more, but when those plants were submerged, the ABA levels will decrease. So that when the ABA levels will decrease, automatically the GA can produce more. Like that, the internode elongation will takes place here. Okay, so like this all, by this all these types of hormones, normally the deep water variety can survive under certain conditions. Here if we see the total how all the hormones are responsible and how the process is going on, the overall mechanism means, here if you see, if the ethylene amount is more, obviously the gibberellic acid is more, and gibberellic acid is more, brassinosteroids will also more, like they are like enhancers to the gibberellic acid. And if these three are more, obviously when the ABS is less, then only means the ethylene, gibberellic acid and BR are friends, whereas the ABA is not a friend. Okay, it is like inversely proportional. So when this reaction is like this, when the overall mechanism is like this, then only the internode elongation will takes place here. So here in the image you can see some of that. Okay, so this is the overall summary of this topic, how the deep water rice varieties are surviving under these submerged conditions. So by this what by studying all these things and by studying this deep water rice variety, what the scientists have invented was, because of these, with the help of these hormones or because of this internode elongations in the deep water rice variety, they are like, these deep water rice varieties are sustaining the floods. Means when the rice variety is submerged within the water, with when the floods will come, it will also flow through the floods, right? But when it grows outside the water, some certain amount, like at certain times it can sustain, it is having the capacity to to overcome these flood conditions. So like this, the deep water rice varieties are also showing some of the mechanisms which can develop which were showing the flood resistance. Okay, so by studying all these type, like all these things, the scientists have invented that by using these hormones, obviously we can also produce some amount of different types of varieties, so that which can survive under flood conditions. So they want to name them as flood resistant crops. Okay, so this is the topic, guys. I hope all of you understood the topic well. If you have any doubts, just comment me, okay, in the down. And thank you for watching.